Monopoly has 7 levels of power. Most players never pass level 2, and it is not because they rolled badly. The board sorts everybody long before the game ends, and the rule that does the sorting is printed inside the box you already own. Here is every level, and here is where you actually stop. 3 things before we start climbing. Level 4 is where the money is, and it runs on a shortage that the manufacturer built on purpose. There are exactly 32 houses in the box. When they are gone, they are gone. The player holding them does not just get richer. He decides whether anybody else is allowed to build at all. Level 6 is stranger than that. At level 6, you cannot win. You are mathematically out of the game. You will not finish first, and you are the most powerful person at the table because you are holding the one card somebody else needs. And level 7, the level everybody is playing for, is the level where the game quietly stops being a game. That is not a design flaw. The woman who invented this board built level 7 to feel exactly like that. And she was not talking about a board game. 7 levels. Start at the bottom. First, the rule that makes the whole ladder work. Because if you get this wrong, the rest of this video will not make sense. In Monopoly, money is not power. Money is what power produces. You can be the richest player at the table and still lose, and somebody does it in almost every game. What decides the outcome is what you own, and more exactly, whether what you own is finished. The board is built out of color groups, and a color group is worth far more than the pieces it is made of. Own 2 orange properties, and you own 2 properties. Own all 3, and the rulebook stops treating you as an owner and starts treating you as something else. So every level in this video is one step further away from holding cash, and one step closer to holding the thing everybody else has to pass through. Level 1 is where the game starts you. Real life does not. Level 1, you own nothing. You still have income. Every time you pass go, the bank pays you $200, and that is the only money that arrives without you doing anything. It is your salary. It is fixed. It never rises, not once, in the entire game. Everything else about the board rises. Land once on a developed orange property and you pay $550. That single landing cost you almost 3 full laps of salary. You did not make a mistake. You did not overspend. You walked past somebody else's front door, and you cannot opt out. This is the part players feel and rarely say out loud. At level 1, you have no decisions. You roll, you move where the dice put you, and you pay what the board says. Every other level in this video is defined by having a choice. Level 1 is defined by not having one. Watch what that does over time. Your 200 stays 200. Their rent goes from $14 to $70 to $550. You are not falling behind because you are playing badly. You are falling behind because the gap between a fixed income and a compounding asset is the entire mechanic of the game. In the United States right now, 22.6 million renter households spend more than 30% of their income on housing. That is a record. 12.1 million of them spend more than half. Those are not people who played badly either. They are people at level 1, in a game where the rent moves and the salary does not. Level 1 is not a starting position. For most of the table, it is a resting state. Level 2, you buy something. This is the best feeling moment in the entire game, and it is almost worthless. You land on St. James Place and you pay $180 for it. You now own property. You have a deed in front of you, and the rent on that deed on its own is $14. Do the arithmetic that nobody at the table does. To earn back the $180 you just spent at $14 a landing, you need somebody to stop on that square 13 times. The most landed on property on the whole board, Illinois Avenue, gets hit about 3% of all rolls. 13 landings is not a plan. It is a lifetime. Meanwhile, something worse happened, and it happened the second you paid. Your cash went down by $180. The next property you land on, the one that might have completed a set, you now cannot afford. You did not just buy an asset. You bought an asset and sold your flexibility to get it. This is the level almost everyone stops at, and the reason is psychological, not strategic. Level 2 looks like the finish line. You are an owner. You have a thing with your name on it. You are visibly no longer a renter, and the board rewards that feeling with almost nothing. The real-world version is the one you already know. You buy a house. Your net worth on paper goes up, and your monthly cash goes down. The house does not pay you. You pay it for 30 years, and the number the bank cares about is not what the house is worth. It is whether you can still make the payment. Equity is not income. A single deed is not power. Level 2 is the most crowded level on the board, and the distance from here to level 3 is not more money. It is one specific card. Level 3, you complete the set. Something happens here that has no equivalent anywhere else in the game. You place the 3rd orange deed in front of you, you build nothing, you improve nothing, you spend nothing more, and the rent on every one of those properties doubles. $14 becomes $28, instantly, on the same square for the same house with the same board. Read that again because that is the whole video in one move. Nothing about the property changed. What changed is that there is no longer an alternative. That is what a monopoly actually is, and it is not what people think. A monopoly is not about how much you own. It is about whether the other person has somewhere else to go. 2 orange properties and 1 competitor is a market. 3 orange properties is a toll gate. The board is honest about this in a way the real world usually is not. It prints the doubled number right on the card. Nobody pretends it is a coincidence. Here's the same rule outside the box. 4 companies now process about 85% of the beef in the United States. In 1971, those same 4 handled 25%. By 1992, it was 71%. Nothing about a cow changed across those 50 years. What changed is how many places a rancher can sell to and how many places you can buy from. When the last alternative disappears, price stops being a negotiation and starts being an announcement. At level 3, you feel it at the table too. People stop landing on your square and saying, "Unlucky." They start saying, "Of course." The tone changes before the money does. And this is the level where the game stops being about the dice. From here on, every single thing that happens is a decision somebody made. Level 4, you build. And you build exactly 3 houses. Not 1, not 4, not a hotel. 3. Here is why. On St. James Place, 2 houses collect $200. 3 houses collect $550. The 3rd house costs $100, the same as the first 2, and it adds $350 in rent. It is the single largest jump in the game, and it pays for itself in roughly 9.5 opponent rolls. Everything after it is worse value. The 4th house adds $200 for the same 100, and a hotel adds even less per dollar. That is the ordinary strategy answer, and it is correct. Now here's the level 4 rule that most players go their whole lives without noticing. There are 32 houses in the box and 12 hotels. That is not a packaging decision. The official rules say that when the bank has no houses left, nobody can build until somebody sells one back. The supply is finite and it is shared, which means at level 4 you have a second weapon that has nothing to do with rent. If you buy houses and hold them, you are not just improving your own properties. You are taking the material out of the game. Your opponent can complete a color group, have all the cash in the world, and still be unable to build a single thing because you are holding the bricks. Blocking is not a house rule. It is the printed rule, and it is the closest the board comes to admitting what it is about. I made a whole video on what that shortage looks like in an actual housing market, so I will not repeat it here. What matters for the latter is this. Level 4 is the first level where your win and their loss are the same action. Level 5, you borrow against yourself. You are 3 houses deep on the orange set, you have $40 in cash, and the light blue property you need to lock somebody out has just landed in a trade. You cannot pay for it. So you mortgage. You hand a deed back to the bank, and it gives you half the printed price, right now. To get that property back later, you pay the mortgage plus 10% interest. That is the trade at level 5. You make your weakest holdings worthless in order to make your strongest holding untouchable. And most real games are decided in exactly this move, 2 or 3 turns before anybody realizes the game is over. Leverage is the only tool on the board that lets you skip a level. It is also the only tool that can drop you 3. The mortgaged property collects nothing while it sits there. If the plan does not work, you are now a level 2 player who owns a lot of paper. You already know the outside version because it is the same instrument with a nicer name. Borrowing against what you own to buy something that produces is how almost every large fortune is actually built. It is also how they end. The mechanism does not care which way it runs. Notice what has quietly happened by level 5 though. You are no longer waiting to be paid. You are deciding when to be exposed. That is a different kind of player. Level 6, you cannot win. This is the level nobody puts on a list, and it is the most interesting one on the board. You are down to $12 and 2 mortgaged properties. Arithmetically, you are finished. You will not come first. And you are holding the 3rd dark blue deed, and the player who is about to win the game needs it. Every deal at that table now runs through you. You cannot take the game. You can hand it to somebody. And the moment everyone understands that, the 2 strongest players stop negotiating with each other and start negotiating with you. That is not a quirk of Monopoly, that is a choke point. And choke points are the most underrated form of power there is, because they never look like power from the outside. The clean, real-world example is a Dutch company called ASML. It is not the biggest name in chips. It does not make a single processor. It makes the lithography machines that the most advanced chips cannot be manufactured without. And for the newest generation, it is the only company on Earth that makes them. Every giant in that industry is enormous, and every one of them has to come through one supplier in the Netherlands. Size is not what makes that position strong. Being unavoidable is. Level 6 is also, and I would put money on this, where the Netflix version of this game will actually be decided. 12 people, a life-size board, $2 million, made by the team behind The Traitors, arriving in 2027. A show like that is not built around who rolls well. It is built around the moment a player who has already lost realizes that their last deed decides who wins and starts charging for it. Level 6 is the only rung on this ladder that you can reach by losing. Level 7, you own everything. Here's what actually happens when you get there, and every single person watching this has sat at that table. The other players stop building because they cannot. They stop buying because there's nothing left. They start selling houses back to the bank at half price to cover a rent they cannot cover. Somebody mortgages their last property, rolls, lands on your street, and cannot pay. And the game does not end with a winner. It ends with somebody saying, "Can we just stop?" That is the Level 7 experience, and it is worth being precise about why it feels that way. Your rent is only worth something while there is somebody able to pay it. At Level 7, there is not. You are holding the most valuable position on a board where value has stopped existing. You did not win the game, you finished it. There is no 8th level, not because the ladder runs out of room, but because the system runs out of other people. A board where one player owns everything has no moves left in it, and neither does the version outside the box. A monopolist with no customers left is not a stronger monopolist. He is the end of the market he took over. Which brings us to the part that changes how you see all 7 of these levels. Because none of this is an accident of game design. This board was not invented to celebrate Level 7. It was invented to make you hate it. In 1904, an American woman named Lizzie Magie was granted a patent for a board game called the Landlord's Game. It is this board. The loop, the corner squares, the deeds, the rent that grows when one player collects a group. She was a follower of the economist Henry George, and she built the thing as a teaching tool. The point was to let people feel, in about 40 minutes, what it is like to be on the wrong side of concentrated land ownership. And here's the part that gets left out. She did not design one game. She published it with 2 sets of rules. In one, players compete until a single winner takes everything. In the other, the gains from the land are shared out, and everybody's position improves together. You were supposed to play both in one sitting, and notice how differently the same board felt. In 1935, Parker Brothers bought her patent for $500 with no royalties and marketed a man named Charles Darrow as the inventor of Monopoly. He became the first millionaire game designer in history, and they shipped one rule set, the one where you play to reach Level 7. Over 275 million copies of that box have been sold since, which means the most widely played economics lesson ever made has spent 90 years teaching exactly half of what it was built to teach. Everybody on Earth learned that the goal is to own everything. Almost nobody was ever handed the other rulebook. That is not a metaphor I'm reaching for. That is a printing decision made once by a company in 1935. Every system has 2 sets of rules, the ones you were taught and the ones that actually decide who wins. On this particular board, that is not a figure of speech. It is literally what happened to the box. So, 7 levels, and most players never pass 2. Now you know why. Level 2 is the one that feels like arriving. You own a thing, and what the board is actually measuring is not whether you own something. It is whether anybody can go around you. The step from 2 to 3 is not more money. It is the last alternative disappearing. Everything above it, the houses, the mortgage, the Kingmaker, the empty board at Level 7, is that same step, repeated at a larger size. And the one thing the game will never tell you out loud is that it does not hand out levels. It hands out starting positions, and then it lets the rules do the rest. Next, what happens to that board when the bank itself joins the game? Because there is one player in Monopoly who can never run out of money, and it is not